It's a bit like, one of those films. I can't remember the one, maybe Fahrenheit 451 or something like that, or 415. I bet you
Silent Running.
Silent Running.
Silent Running.
Absolutely, that's the one.
I had to flick through my sci-fi film Rolodex.
I'm very impressed with that. Silent Running. It is a bit of a silent running, yeah.
Well, you started appearing on TV at some time, I think it was the 80s or thereabouts, doing stuff on there. It was a bit of a breakthrough because up until that point in Britain, people had thought that good food came from elsewhere. The idea was that when you learnt about food, it would have to be food from France or food from Spain or Italy or whatever. But it was you were one of the first chefs to say that you can make good food from British produce?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not the first, but I mean, it was a sort of movement, really. I mean, the thing is that much as British food's maligned, a lot of the local dishes, a lot of the traditional dishes are extremely good, and the produce is extremely good, particularly the fish. I mean, we're very lucky with the Gulf Stream having an enormous number of species, of edible species of fish and shellfish around the coast. And I just think it was up to a few people like me to say, look, let's not knock ourselves all the time. What we've got is good. We may, need to learn a bit about cooking it better, but basically there's nothing wrong with what we've got here. And I called the people that actually sort of produce good things my food heroes, because in a lot of occasions, particularly people like fishermen or farmers, I mean, farming is not a prosperous business generally in the UK at the moment, and a lot of people that are producing really good produce don't get a lot of money for it, and everybody wants to be sort of in advertising or bankers these days, who wants to go and work the land, In the old days, it was the sort of thing that, in France or Spain or Italy, it was what the peasants did, and there's still that sort of culture. But in Britain and probably here as well, it does take some people that with real, ideals to go back and start doing things agriculturally in a proper way, and I think they should be really praised for what they do.
Rick, if someone was to go to Cornwall and risk the wrath of the Cornish National Liberation Army, such as they are, and you wanted to eat like a really lovely Cornish-style seafood dish, what do you recommend?
Well, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I would go for something like, as I said, something like mackerel. But
how do you cook it?
I would just grill it or fry it. But the lobsters, the Cornish North Coast lobsters, are really good. They're different to the ones you have here. They're the ones with the big claws.
How are they different?
They've got the big claws, and
right.
I hate to say it, but they're probably a bit sweeter. It's one of those sort of paradoxical things about cold water seafood. It often tends to be sweeter than the warmer stuff. But let me just, before people start ringing up and saying...
No, I'm sure they won't.
I do think that Australian prawns are second to none, but I just think our lobsters are superb. I mean, lobsters probably, if somebody said, what should I eat? I'd say lobster or turbot, which is this big flat fish, which doesn't exist anywhere else but the North Atlantic.
Rick Stein is my guest, chef, TV host, author, raconteur. I love the fact on this, you also went to Morocco, which is the site of one of the world's great cuisines. Morocco.
I think so. I mean, I was surprised because I went there the first time in the 70s. It was quite rough in the 70s. It's where all those lots of Australian surfers went there. Quite a sort of difficult country. It's come on a lot since then. It's a lot less sort of antisocial. I mean, when I was there in the 70s, it happened to be Ramadan, just my luck, where people don't eat between sunup and sundown and therefore get really quite bad-tempered and then eat massively in the evening. But this time it wasn't. This time we filmed in Fez, which is the most interesting city in the world, I think. We met an English guy who lives there, and he just said, it's just like going back into the Middle Ages.
It's like a perfectly functioning medieval Arab city.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
It is. I mean, I just would really urge anybody to go there, really. I mean, you've been there.
I've been there myself. It's incredible.
Yeah.
People still live and work there the way they have done for 500-600 years in many ways. And you can see the way they used to tan leather in the place. And you can see donkeys piled with animal skins that'll go through the narrow laneways. And the food is spectacularly good.
It is. Those tagines, I mean, I think it's one of those dishes that has been completely ruined by sort of overuse all over the rest of the world. But when you go there and just see how much skill there is in making a good tagine and how wonderful they taste, and that mixture, particularly with the lamb tagines, of lamb and fruit, normally dates or prunes, and lamb cooked very, very slowly in those tagines, often over charcoal. I love them.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
When you go back to the UK, what do you tell people to try when they come to Australia or to Sydney?
I just say you've got to go down to you've got to go to the fish markets, because the seafood is fantastic. It's much more available here. That's the problem in the UK. It's not that we don't have it; it's trying to buy it. So I say that. I could say also go to the fruit and veg markets. We don't have big shops that sell abundance of fruit and veg. I mean, I'm always saying to people, nobody knows in the UK what a bunch of basil is. You go to somewhere like Brisbane, and you got it's like a bouquet of basil, and it sort of costs you cents. I think it's just what I really like about it is the sort of generosity. Like the enormous mangoes, which are a delight, the piles of avocados which cost a little, and things like these massive bunches of herbs. It's sort of like, it just makes you want to cook, funnily enough, because it's not like going to a supermarket and getting a little packet with a couple of strands of parsley in it.
It's the horn of plenty in Australia.
It is.
Just finally, on a slightly sad note, Chalky, your dog was almost as popular as your good self in your TV series. Yeah. Sadly, he died of old age. Is it true that the Westminster passed a condolence motion?
Well, I think they did. I mean, I was quite surprised, but I got this email saying that it was mentioned in Parliament, so I thought, well, there's a dog. We've had him cast in bronze. We're going to put him out. We're having some changes down at the restaurant. We're going to put him on a pedestal outside in memory of a great dog.
What, the dog itself cast in bronze, or just a replica?
Oh, just a replica.
Oh, good.
No, sorry. No, it's not
That'd
him
be a bit
underneath.
ghoulish, wouldn't it? He's not underneath at all. No. I'm greatly relieved to hear it.
Oh, no, but I miss him. I really do.
Rick Stein.